Hello, Tommy.
Hello, darling.
I've got deja vu.
Oh my God. Well, I'm absolutely mortified because
Bless
Hannah
you.
and I actually recorded this yesterday. And we had a conversation at the end where Hannah was like, honestly, the energy that you brought to that really just carried us through. And I went from that and I was so proud of what we did there. I thought it was one of our best. I thought we'd really found our stride. And then I had to call Kev and be like, Kev, there's no lines on the recording.
Yeah, I think we both felt the same yesterday. We were like, okay, obviously life is quite stressful right now, but we've really committed to this. You know, I'm so enjoying some of the feedback that we are getting in terms of the mission of trying to help people feel a little less alone in it all right now. And I think, yeah, similar. We kind of like closed the recording session. We were like, fucking fantastic. And then obviously realized that we had lost the audio.
You want to look at me now, just double checking constantly the app that we're using to see that there are in fact lines on the recording.
Yeah,
to show
but
that
we have also
picking up.
discovered, babes, haven't we, that you might just have not plugged in your microphone.
Well, it's one of those. It's either that or it wasn't connected. It's something that I did that I'm still completely mortified about. But anyway,
we're here again because we weren't able to record last week. Thank you everyone so much for your patience because neither of us have been very well. It was face down in the duvet for us both, and if we'd have recorded last week, we would have really sounded like shit.
No, completely. I mean, it's funny because when we were speaking yesterday, I was speaking about this kind of this way that I'd really turned a corner and how things were looking so much better with my mental health. And then we got off that call. We had this issue with the recording. We spent an hour and a half on that. Had a cry about that. And then I got an email from my tax lady about my sort of VAT situation, which for me is like immediately gonna just get me in a state, and then had a massive cry about that as well. I mean, I've looked into it on reflection. It's nowhere near as bad as I thought, but anything about taxes for me will just send me into a tailspin.
Well,
and
I think especially at the moment because none of us want to pay any tax because
we know where it's going.
Exactly, you know, like you're in Germany, and Germany have just welcomed Benjamin Netanyahu, war criminal with arrest warrants issued by the International Court of Justice. I mean, what is the point of them, right? Like, what is people being like? But what about international law? And I'm like, babies, we are a bit late. We are a bit late for that conversation. So,
a bit late to that party, yeah.
Our resilience in terms of I have to deal with this, I have to deal with that is shot to shit. We've talked about that. You know, trying to run a business, trying to worry about things like your accounting, trying to care about giving these governments any more of our fucking money is going to make you cry.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's a lot, but I mean, what I was kind of saying yesterday, and just to sort of get into that again,
we're gonna have to stop saying that though.
yeah. No, that is gonna be the last time I say it. Robbie and I just went away for a little trip, which was quite sort of like recharging for us. We actually, when Robbie and I met, I'd promised that at some point we were going to go and see his Lord and Saviour, Florence and the Machine. So Robbie is really into quite sort of like shouty metal and punk music, but his real queen above all of that is Miss Florence Given. And,
not Florence Given, not that fucking Florence, the other fucking Florence.
Not that one, Jesus Christ.
Sorry,
Too many
Robbie.
Florences, absolutely not. I'll say that again, Miss Florence Welch. Fucking hell. And so I made this promise that we would go. I was never really much of a fan. And
not much of a
okay.
flan.
Fucking hell! Never been much of a flan myself. But yeah, so I was like, okay, let's go and see the very sort of floaty lady. I was sort of like, you know, as part of the trip, I was like, well, we'll go and see my favourite tattoo artist. I'll get tattooed. That's kind of the deal. So we went to go and see Florence, and honestly, I was completely blown away. I was expecting to be quite bored. But she came out with this sort of like, they were called Witch Choir. It was a group of dancers. And it was giving kind of like Coppola's Dracula. It was giving the witch trials, sort of Victoria. It was insane. One of them was this sort of blonde, non-binary vampire. And they were kind of just, doing this insane choreography along to, what Florence was giving. And it was just absolutely incredible. I mean, she's such a presence as well, like so beautiful. I was blown away.
But did you wear a Victorian nightgown?
No, I didn't. I mean, Robbie really should have done, given the sort of level of his fandom. But no, it was just absolutely sensational.
Do you want to give a shout out to your tattooer in Rotterdam?
I do.
You went to Amsterdam, right? But to see Florence and the Machine, but you also went to Rotterdam to get your whole stomach tattooed, which I think might have had something to do with you then. The travel, the getting tattooed, there was a bit of a crash off of the back of that, which I think is to be expected.
Yeah, it's my friend Moira Ramone, who is, in my opinion, the best traditional tattooer. Because I like traditional, I like heavy lines, I like, lots of black and, heavy shading.
Moira's I don't know Moira other than through obviously seeing their work through you and the amazing book of Flash. That you got me for my birthday, and absolutely it's on my list to be able to get to Rotterdam to be tattooed by Moira Ramone now.
She's a listener as well.
So what did you get tattooed on your stomach, Tom?
So long story short, I've gotten quite into druidry recently, as sort of a spiritual path. That's something that I've been exploring and have found myself quite enamored by the god Pan. So what I got on my stomach is sort of like, it's like an invocation of Pan. So there's Pan, there's a nymph, there is like a sickle and a whip and all this stuff. And at the bottom it says to honor Pan. And in my sort of learning about this, actually it was Hellebore. I read in Hellebore, they've got a whole thing about the god Pan. That he's so associated with homosexuality that the phrase to honor Pan actually means like to do gay stuff. Which I think another friend of mine said should also be tattooed on me, like gay stuff.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. And obviously you'd already had your chest done by Moira as well, so I know that your front is looking pretty adorned right now, which is kind of crazy for me because when I met you didn't have any tattoos.
None. But I'm really grateful that I started so late because I really knew who I was.
Otherwise, you'd look like me. Who looks like they got sent in my tattoos were sent in a TARDIS, right, from the early 2000s. I've got like old Joe Capobianco kind of flash and nautical stars and red cobwebs and
very of the time.
Yeah, I've got a nautical star tattooed on the back of each calf.
Oh my god, classic.
When I was at college, I think like it was one of those Big Cheese was like a music magazine in the UK at the time. And they gave away like transfer tattoos on the front of this music magazine, and they'd done a photo shoot, I think, with like a sort of rockabilly pin-up looking girl in a bowling alley, and they'd put these transfer tattoos on the back of her calves, and she was doing the old pencil skirt kind of Converse, and I was like, cool, I could use the transfers, or I could just go and get them tattooed.
Was that your first? Was that your first tattoo?
No. I've got another little star. I had a little tiny star on my hip just below my waistband where my mum and dad weren't going to see it because I did start getting tattooed when I was about 16, 17.
That like lower waistband is the classic. I think my best friend when I was younger, we went to go and get her first tattoo when she was about 16, and it was a little lightning bolt somewhere there.
Yeah,
that no
exactly. I think I've got a bat behind one of my ears that I forget about that was like a Halloween flash thing, and people are like, oh, what have you got there? And I'm like, what have I got there? Do you tell me? But I remember like my first experiences of obviously getting tattooed at that time in the early 2000s. There was a shop called Tattoo Magic on the high street in Shirley in Southampton. Shout out Tattoo Magic. I'm sure it's still there. Like these shops will be there past the apocalypse. There'll still be someone in one of those shops. And it smelled of Dettol. and there were flash sheets. You know, when they used to buy flash sheets from America in bulk, like in packs, to put up on the walls in tattoo shops. And the old guy who owned it, John, who'd been tattooing for decades, was in there, and he had a couple of dogs curled up at his feet and was smoking a cigarette. You know, like, it was just a different fucking time, and it's been amazing for me to kind of like get into tattooing at that time. And then obviously I ended up running a studio in Berlin at a time when I guess it was all much more acceptable. Like, I remember when I first got tattooed below my elbow and everyone was like, "You've ruined your life, you know, you're never gonna get a job." I'm like, good. I don't want one. I smell a rat.
My hands, for me, was my promise to myself that I wouldn't work another corporate job or work for anyone else again, or ever be in a position where I couldn't be myself.
Yeah, I did that, but I did it when I was about 24 and had no actual plan for my life, and had not started my own business. And I remember laying awake the night before and looking at my hands, because before I got my knuckles done, my untattooed hands, and being like, this is the last time you're going to see these as they are. I really remember being like wanting to visually commit that moment to memory. And obviously now I'm just absolutely fucking covered, but it was a deliberate, like, I guess I'm not going to go to university. I'm not going to be a teacher. I know that I'm already deliberately choosing a path, and it was very deliberate decision for me. It wasn't like, I want to get my knuckles tattooed because I want to look cool. I mean, that was absolutely a part of it, let's be honest. But it was that whole idea of, we called them job stoppers. In the tattoo world, like, they're called job stoppers, and it was that idea of, I know I'm making life harder for myself, but it also means I'm deliberately removing myself from the life that I know it is that I couldn't live already at that point.
Yeah, and then went on to have some corporate jobs with those hand tattoos.
Right?
Isn't that crazy?
Because now people in boring boardrooms will bend over backwards to try and bring creatives in, and try to bring people in that have got that kind of visual language. Obviously I was kind of predominantly working in marketing, and I think that you need people who are a little outside the box. That's, you know, so be wary of that, people out there in the job market. Your weird is wonderful, and they will treat it as the resource that it is. So, you know, be wary of that. You're not doing them any fucking favors at all by being there. They should pay you what you're worth, and you should be celebrated just as much as the person that wears the boring beige two-piece every fucking day. Right? Like,
yeah, always.
So yesterday, when we recorded the most amazing episode we've ever recorded that no one's ever going to get to hear, that's the last time, I promise.
You're doing it now.
I know. But I am really sorry you were so upset about it. I thought it was hilarious.
Oh my god. Well, I'm glad, because I was really, really suffering there. I was like, I've ruined everything.
No, babe.
You know, it just because, like, I feel like, you know, it was really kind of high energy and it was fun.
I think it's because we both were coming off the back of a bad week, and I think despite that, you know, we really wanted to come back to this. We really wanted to do this, but here we are again. And part of what we wanted to do with this was that whole getting over the perfectionism, right? The whole, like, and we're not going to be able to bring that buoyant energy every time. I felt like you were dragging me through the recording yesterday by my limp ankle, right? Like, I was like, if anything, I'm happy to have an opportunity today to discuss some of the stuff again, because I don't think it will do us any harm, and of course I want to share it with our lovely audience.
Very true. And I mean, what we wanted to get on to talk about really was, like, our sort of coping strategies. And I know that you have sort of asked the audience about that as well. But I feel like I've turned a little bit of a corner in that I got really sick. And in that time, I had some sort of spiritual downloads as I was on my deathbed. Downloads. Where I was just feeling like this can't go on. And one of the big ones for me is Instagram. So I found that as I was lying there, I was waking up, like, in sort of cold sweats, and I was having, like, flashbacks of things that I'd seen on Instagram, and then waking up, and the whole time I was awake just being on my phone. Like, I'd be embarrassed to say what my screen time is. that was something that really came to a head in that time. And so one of my coping strategies, very recent, but I can already feel the benefits, is I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not doing it anymore. And I have gotten really into this thing called the brick. I mean, the first time I got into this was like a year ago, and I sort of advertised it to all our friends.
Yeah, I think you probably sold quite a few bricks for brick, because I've got a brick because you got a brick. Do you want to tell us what's a brick? Obviously, we should all have a stockpile of bricks for throwing at our adversaries right now. Like, my crystal of choice for the revolution is a brick. Or we're gonna put our quartz in a sock and start swinging, lads. Yeah? But what the fuck is a brick?
Okay, so a brick, it's literally a little plastic brick that's marketed to influencers and people that are sort of terminally online. And what you do is you tap your phone on it and it locks you out of whatever apps are distracting for you. So for me, that is primarily Instagram. The way I did it before is I had like Gmail and my website provider and all that, but that was too much because I found that I was having to unlock all the time. So this time I've just on Instagram, and what I've done is I've actually ritualized it. So I've put it on my altar, and it's kind of between Venus and Pan. And it's not allowed to move from the altar. I can't take it out with me, nothing. So if I am going to the altar and tapping myself in and allowing myself to be flooded with this information, there has to be a reason for it, or I'm literally standing before my gods and defying them. So this is ritualizing in this way has been really, really good. So I always have to be bricked when I leave the house. I'm only ever allowed to tap in when I'm at home, and there has to be a reason for that. So if I'm tapping in, it's because I'm posting something, or I want to check on my friends and what they're doing. I am not doom scrolling anymore.
Well, obviously, I think since the last time we recorded, America and Israel have started a war by attacking Iran. We know now that it was an American missile that hit an elementary school, killing more than 160 civilians, obviously most of them children. It's been tricky for us because obviously we are people who we want to stay informed, we want to help our audience stay informed in a way that doesn't completely stress them out, because we're all trying to stay safe. We're trying to stay sane enough to stay safe right now. And we talked about it. I'd love to kind of do a deep dive into Iran, but I also think that it's Iranian voices and Iranian people's experience that we need to be kind of amplifying, just as we did with Palestine and with Palestinians, and that we need to keep doing for Palestine and Palestinians. A big part of all of this is still distracting from obviously Israel's ongoing genocide, and we talked about, obviously, because we also had Kansas rolling back trans people's driver's licenses. We know that there's been a red flag raised for genocide against trans people in America. Like, this is big stuff. This is the shit we're all taking to our altars, right? So but as much as we are very fortunate to have Iranian friends, people in the Iranian diaspora, we've obviously got loads of trans homies. I'm really wary of asking those people, especially during a time that is so tough for them, particularly to do any more labor when it comes to educating fucking white people in the West, and people who up until this point have never so much as stuck their snout to anywhere near a book.
Well, that's it, isn't it? I mean, I've actually spoken to Yasemin about this, and has said that she's very happy to come on and have a conversation. But that's not necessarily something that I would want to be asking right now, in the midst of it all and in all that pain,
And Yasemin is our friend who runs Blackwood Castle. So another amazing person to kind of keep an eye out for on socials, because Yasemin is doing a lot despite how tough it is to try to bring people's awareness to the nuances of the situation. But as far as I'm concerned, this one's relatively straightforward. Just stop bombing people, stop killing civilians.
I mean, what's going on right now is incredibly straightforward, but I found it really important to sort of brush up on my history with that particular country, because I've got to be honest, like, this feels very much like what happened with Palestine, where I felt so overwhelmed by the fact that I didn't really know what I was talking about. So when I say that I am stepping away from Instagram, that doesn't mean I'm stepping away from the news, and I'm finding new ways to inform myself. I mean, right now I'm reading, I just finished last night the first of two sort of graphic novels about Iran. They're called Persepolis. It sort of starts in the 80s with what was going on then with the regime, and it follows like a little girl in her family and being in a secular school, and then, you know, they have to veil, and then her uncle gets arrested for his political activism. And it's just, I think with Palestine, I went straight into quite big books, and I don't really feel like I necessarily have the capacity for that quite yet. So to start with something that is as simple as a graphic novel that brings it to life through this little girl that's really quite punk rock in her own way has just been really, really good as a starting point, just to get the foundation right.
Yeah, amazing. I think there's a lovely reminder in there for artists as well at the moment. You know, anybody who's like, what difference can a comic book make? All the difference in the world if it's helping people to see, like you said, it's humanizing that experience that people have had of growing up under that regime. And Persepolis, I know it. I'll link it in the show notes, which means when we publish on Patreon, I'll stick a link in there so people can have a look. Yeah, coping strategies. We essentially were like, okay, let's talk about what it is that we're all doing just to make it through the day today right now, because we've all had to get pretty good at using the tools that we have or trying to discover new ones. And I don't know if I have been coping. I feel like I've been sort of slowly unraveling, but I am also really aware that it's the kind of unraveling that probably has to happen. I posted a quote from James Baldwin on Instagram this morning that was along the lines of, I've had to spend a lot of time vomiting up all of the stuff I was taught or told about myself that isn't true, so I could walk through the world as the person that I am supposed to be, and I am deep in the vomiting. There's a lovely visual for you there, listeners. But that idea of like this purge of, you know, in socialization, indoctrination, you know, things that you know, it's like I was raised as a woman, but I'm not practicing.
That's really good.
I still like some of the rituals, but you know, I'm not actually a practicing woman. You know, so but it is that with the Epstein files, with just the state of the world, with these bastards that are in charge at the moment, it is putting the emphasis back on us and our ability to look at, well, where does that thought come from? Where does that belief, that long-held belief, come from? And when we get right into the root of the some of the ways that can make us feel about ourselves, and it impacts our behaviours, our relationships, you know, especially for women and femme-presenting people.
Yeah. I think that it's, like, as I say, I mean, I was stepping back from Instagram and trying to sort of like redefine the ways that I get news, and I'm just really enjoying discovering different ways of doing that. So, I mean, I recently downloaded Ground News. I can't really speak too much to that. It's a new thing I've got on my phone, but it's meant to be sort of like quite a nuanced news tool. I'll see about that. But also, I mean, I follow a lot of sort of independent journalists and speakers. I mean, right now, I'm really obsessed with this woman, Jennifer Welch, that covers a lot of stuff about, you know, the Trump administration, the Epstein files, all that kind of stuff. And I mean, not only is she just like quite a good speaker, but she's also just like such a camp icon. Like, I really feel like somebody needs to do her in the Snatch Game. Like, she looks like a Republican, like somebody's sort of Republican mum, but actually she's pretty left. And I mean, some of the things that she says are just so camp. I mean, she speaks about like, you know, our president is playing patty cake with known war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu, and it's just so camp. And sometimes just like the delivery and breaking things up a little bit, and sometimes just making it and just slightly more fun and slightly less depressing. It's just been really good for me.
Yeah, I think we'll all take slightly more fun and slightly less depressing right now. That feels like a really big win, especially kind of like I said, looking at the world stage. But I think talking about the things I love hearing about your altar, by the way. I can't keep an altar to save my life because it just gets covered in fucking dust. But it sounds like a sexy altar, your altar, because Venus and Pan is some like sensual, loving on myself, getting grounded, like preserving and protecting my power so I can use it where it needs to go. Did you get your Venus day when we were in Cyprus?
I did, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because that was a very Aphrodite. There's like Venus rock.
Yeah. No, she's everywhere there. I went to Aphrodite's cave. I went on a day trip up to Aphrodite's cave, which was absolutely incredible. I mean, you can really sort of feel her there. There's Venus Beach there as well, where she supposedly, isn't it something like she was born out of Zeus's testicle on the water or something like that?
I think essentially someone spaffed in the ocean, and then that's when we get the iconic kind of Botticelli.
The shell.
Venus. Is it Botticelli? Probably not.
It is Botticelli.
Art critics don't come for me. Iconic image, obviously, of beauty, of love, emerging from the sea foam. That's where she supposedly did it. Is that point in Cyprus? So. Yeah. I don't know how about Cyprus I was. It was very, very hot. It was very dusty, and there was a lot of English pubs that did karaoke. A bit of a hot button topic in terms of military bases, with how adjacent Cyprus is, of course, to Palestine, Israel, and the fact that we've got British military bases there. What a weird time to be alive. I've been gardening.
Oh my God, I just absolutely love that for you.
So Kev and I are city kids. I don't know if I'm a city. I lived in rural Ireland as a child. You know, I remember running through the fields and riding my bike to the creamery and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, he grew up in West London.
Creamery?
The creamery, babes. The creamery in Ireland. The creamery is a very important place. I assume it has something to do with cream, but it was also where I could go and buy penny sweets, like pick and mix. So I used to get on my bike and cycle off to go and get my sweets. Because we could do things like that back then. I never thought I would see the day that someone who's obviously lived in Berlin with her, like I said, West London born and raised husband would be living as rurally as we are now. But part of the reason that we made the decision to come out here was the need to literally touch fucking grass, right? To actually sink hands into soil. I have such a problem with being in my body. I have such a problem with things like grounding, and I need everything in extremes, right? Like, if I hear ocean swimming is good for me, I need to be dropped into the middle of Atlantic in a cage. With you know, like, I can't just dip a fucking toe. I have to go like all in. So we've got raised beds, we've got a composter that I reckon is going to take us about 3 years to fill at this point, because it might be a bit big. And we're going to be growing garlic and trying to grow some spuds and some carrots and
gorgeous.
And we'd love to get some chickens. And I've seen a movement of women online talking about the henna pause.
Oh my God.
How there's a point in life where just being surrounded by chickens makes the most sense. So I just need everyone to know I have in fact arrived in early henopause. I can't wait to have more little guys running around the yard. So that. I think if we've been doing anything to cope, it's been trying to find enough compost to fill these raised beds, because actually in the world that we're living in right now, it kind of makes the most sense.
I'm actually just so jealous. Like, the idea of getting your hands in the soil and feeling that connected to nature is just so exciting. But obviously, you know, there is a little bit of news that I now feel like I can share. In that Robbie and I have had our mortgage accepted. So we are buying a house. And it very much in that process now. I mean, this has been years in the making. I mean, we found that house. It had to stand empty for a year because of this stupid German law. But now we have gone through like a year-long sort of application process for a mortgage that was extremely difficult, given that I'm self-employed. I mean, when we got back from the Netherlands, we got the news pretty quick that it had been accepted. And I think we went away sort of thinking that maybe it wasn't going to happen. And yeah, we're buying an ugly cement box in East Berlin with a garden, and just are absolutely over the moon about it. So we'll be joining you with the gardening.
You say ugly cement box, and I think it's one of the most amazing houses I've ever seen in my fucking life, because you could roller skate in your basement, right? Like, It is kind of incredible.
I mean, the thing is, Hannah and I have like huge differences when it comes to sort of our aesthetic with interior design. I mean, me and Robbie's place is sort of like a black gothic museum where there isn't, a square centimetre that doesn't have a cross on it. Whereas Hannah is quite into sort of like mid-century modern. And this place was built, I think, in the 50s, decorated in the 70s. Everything is that
Perfect.
sort of
Don't you dare. Don't you dare. Like, I'm incensed. So Tommy did a walkthrough, like, video, and this was some time ago. This has been a huge process for you. It is so hard when you're self-employed to kind of tick these life goals off the list. Where you did a walkthrough, and I was like, because obviously my favorite interiors are the ones where it looks like Austin Powers should be rolling around on the carpet with Liz Hurley, right? Like, it is just like, you've got the like swirly shag carpets and the bathroom tile. You have the most 1970s bathroom tile I've ever seen in your life, and Tommy's like, it's disgusting, it's the first thing that's getting ripped out, and I'm like, devastated.
It's brown. It is brown and turquoise.
Yeah,
I mean, babes, I'll ship them. I'll rip them off the wall and I'll ship them to you. How's that?
Rip them and ship them, babes. Rip them and ship them. And when you put all of that old mid-century teak furniture and all those light fittings and shit out on the curb, I'm going to be there like a raccoon. Like a fucking feral raccoon. Rifling through. Amazing. Well, congratulations. Obviously, I knew about this, and Kev's still gonna have to edit a lot of squealing out, because I'm just so delighted for you. I know firsthand how difficult it is, and how dismissive and rude people are when you run your own business, and you're like, wait, hang on, I'm not dependent on anyone else paying my salary. I'm not dependent on someone coming through and giving me money every month. I'm out there doing it for myself. And yet someone who's an employee is a safer bet for you. They could lose their job tomorrow. I'm not. I won't.
Exactly. I mean, they could get sacked tomorrow. And, I like sort of got all the numbers together, and Robbie had a look and was like, bloody hell.
Yeah.
It's like,
exactly.
I'm doing all right. Like, I found it like outrageous how difficult it was.
Yeah, it is. But again, even more of a celebration. It's something that you've done. And do you know when you'll be able to exchange, sign, get the keys? Like, what's the next step?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll be signing fairly soon, but we're having the whole thing rewired. So, like, it'll be a little while. I mean, I think we're probably looking at moving in the summer.
Okay. I'm straight over.
Please.
You two are going to be like, we're going to have to batten the hatches and give ourselves an opportunity to actually live here and be together here before all of our friends from all over the world are like, awesome.
No, you've got to come over and show me how to put up raised beds and all that. I've got no clue.
Oh, no, well, I'm not already really looking forward to that. Coming back to coping strategies. So obviously I've been doing a bit of gardening. I also wanted to talk about pets. My animals, because towards the end of last year, I got a Sphinx kitten, a nudist cat.
FKK.
And I called him Mr. Weenie.
Hair Winkle.
Tommy calls Mr. Weenie Hair Winkle because he called me up the other day and was like, what did you call that cat again, Mr. Winkle? And I was like, how dare you? It's Mr. Weenie. So it's Mr. Weenie, aka Hair Winkle, which I just love. And obviously, some people might know if they know me, and you absolutely know, I had a Sphinx cat in Berlin, and I lost that cat in immeasurably tragic circumstances, and it rearranged me in ways that I'm still not really over. So I didn't imagine that I would ever have a Sphinx again, but they are the most affectionate little fuckers. Like, this cat wants to be with you. I mean, they're trying to stay warm. They just want to steal your body warmth, right? But this cat loves me so much, he tries to get in my mouth, right? Like, this is a cat that will literally lick tears from my face. So I have two other sons, feline sons. I have Spooky and I have Steve. Who has to be known as Steve the cat, because my dad is also Steve. Story for another time. We have a little pug Puka, and I do love them all equally, but Mr. Weenie especially has become, I would say, my sort of emotional support cat right now.
I mean, he is gorgeous as well.
He's pretty much black except for these two giant back paws which are white, so he's kind of got Bugs Bunny feet on the back, and he's also got a little spattering of white fur on his nose which makes him look like he's been railing cocaine. So if if Weenie had been a little girl cat, we would perhaps have called him Nigella.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
After celebrity chef Nigella Lawson, who famously got caught, I think, on the nose bag while recording a TV show or similar. So it was either that or Tony Montana or something like that. But we went with Mr. Weenie, which was especially good when we took him to the vet for the first time. And the receptionist asked Kev, "What's the cat's name?" And Kev was like, Weenie. And I was like, "That's Mr. Weenie."
Oh my god.
But you know, in witchcraft we talk about familiars, right? And having familiars and familiar spirits, and so these are can take many forms. Witches might call in a familiar. For me, familiars are helpful because they are little receptacles for your love. And you can fill them with love and affection, and then that love and affection is there to be reciprocated and to support you when you need it the most. And I swear to God, this cat came into my life at the time I needed him the most. And he is the best little receptacle, and he's ever so good at coming and curling up on my chest and purring that purr that helps to really kind of keep me calm. So I know it's not possible, of course, for everyone to have a pet. I know for you in your apartment, it would not be practical.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
But if you're someone who has the space, if you've been sort of contemplating, especially if you're, you know, gonna adopt and bust someone out of the shelter, as someone who deals with anxiety, depression, addiction, ding ding ding, tick tick tick, I can't imagine living in a life where I didn't have these little guys, because the thing with pets is that they are so in the present.
Oh yeah.
They can't live in the past. They don't even hold grudges. That's what's so tragic about dogs. You know, they will. It's very unusual for them to ever bite the hand that feeds them. They are just incredible, and they are just. And it's like cats, especially. You look at a cat curled up, purring and asleep, and all of a sudden it helps you to kind of be more in that moment, than living in an uncertain future. So yeah, for me, coping strategies is absolutely involved like really loving on my pets and prioritizing kind of cultivating an environment where they're all really happy. There's cat trees all over the house. There's little beds like tucked everywhere. They feel like they're everywhere all at once. Kev's like, little bastards there. They absolutely are. They're in my dinner, they're on my laptop, they're, you know,
oh my god, yeah.
scaling the walls in the middle of the night. But yeah, for me, coping has definitely been that conscious connection that helps me to, like I said, sort of just stay in the present moment a little bit. Are you gonna get a dog when you move to your house?
I love that for you. I don't know. I think Robbie's quite concerned about the idea that I would be in overworking mode and he would have to do absolutely everything. I would love to, but I also very much do appreciate that he could be right there.
Yeah, I think Kev as well is probably smirking in solidarity with Robbie on that one when it comes to being the person running point when we're doing what we do and being who we are. So is there anything else that you wanted to kind of talk about that you've been doing before we move a little bit to some of the stuff our wonderful audience wanted to share with us?
I mean, a couple of things. Yeah. So firstly, I mean, you know, running is really big for me.
Who'd have fucking thought? Who would ever?
Oh my god, seriously. I could never find my exercise. And the last thing in the world I thought it would be was running. Like, it's not very chic, is it? You know, like, the running people are annoying. They're always going on about it. Like, I mean, you know, with Tara and Say, like, Say is a runner. And Tara's always like, well, how do you know someone's a runner? Like, oh, you know, don't worry, they'll tell you. Like, the vegans, like, I get it. It's a little bit eggy. Like, I get it. But, it came to me at a time when I wasn't doing well. I mean, I was processing the news that Wes Streeting had sort of banned puberty blockers, and I needed to move my body, so I started running. And then I would be like listening to sort of media about this at the time and processing my feelings. And that then moved to me sort of running a half marathon. And then, but yeah, as I say, sort of more recently, I got runner's knee and had to be out of it for like 3 months and do physio. But I'm now just getting back to it, and I'm like really remembering why I do this. So it's been really great to come back to it, and also have that as my time where I'll listen to a podcast about, you know, what's going on in the world and process how I feel about it as I'm running. So that's been great, reconnecting with that.
I mean, is there anywhere particular that you want to run to? Is there anything in Berlin, any big chunky grow from the ground?
Yeah. Okay. So I mentioned earlier that I have gotten into druidry, and basically, like, this is it's so funny how these things find you, you know, like I can remember I just kept hearing the word Reiki all the time for years before I got into it. And this is what happened with the druid thing. Our lovely friend Bev mentioned it. It just kept coming up. I sort of needed a way of reconnecting to my spirituality. Then I started to hear more and more about this druid thing. And then I started following some people that were doing this. And then I saw on the summer solstice that they were having a sort of pro-Palestine protest by the Stonehenge. And I was just so blown away, and I realized that this is like the activist spirituality. You know, these are people who have a nature-based spirituality, and because of that, they feel connected to all things. And this is, for me, what spirituality is. It's feeling that connection with people on the other side of the world that are going through something that you aren't necessarily, but you can connect in that way. So that's been huge for me. A big part of the sort of druidry tradition is a love for trees, and specifically the oak tree. So I've done quite a lot of research into oak trees in Berlin and what are some of the oldest. And the oldest oak tree in Berlin is in Grunewald. It's about 15 kilometers away. And sort of my goal with getting back into the running is that I will visit this tree and I will run to it, and that will be my offering as this 15-kilometer run. And this tree is called Dicke Marie, which means Fat Maria, basically, because she's so big. And
yes,
she was
girl,
there
she's thick, she's juicy, she's Fat Marie the tree.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm a little bit obsessed with her, and very much looking forward to doing this run where I get to visit her. So Dicke Marie, everybody, Dicke Marie.
When I'm in Berlin, can we do a little visit to Dicke Marie the tree together, and we'll hug the tree together?
Give her a hug.
Just like we did Reiki, we were doing Reiki on each other in the cemetery. In Berlin. Yeah, I mean, obviously we are going to talk about spirituality. It's a huge part of our lives, and when we talk coping strategies, I mean, you and I, let's face it, it's unlikely we would be alive if 12-step recovery had not introduced us to this concept of having a spirit, a soul, that requires a connection to something essentially bigger than itself. It doesn't matter what it is, right? So yeah, in 12-step, you kind of have to hand your will in your life over to God as you understand God. And I have heard from all sorts of people in recovery in terms of their higher power. I think, you know, some people have the moon as their higher power. Some people have a fucking doorknob, right? Like, I heard about some guy in LA once who had side boob as his higher power. Like, there's people doing whatever the fuck they want out there, but this idea of, you know, not culturally appropriating if we can help it, but crafting our own concepts, our own understandings, our own things that, like you said, help us in that great connection, but also help us to honor and respect and soothe and work with that part of us that isn't our mental health, it isn't our emotional health, it isn't our physical health, it's that spiritual health, it's that connection to the earth, it's connection to those spirit energies, ancestors, practices, whatever it is, tarot, Reiki, meditation, like and so much shit can be spiritual. Me screaming along to Les Mis, me singing revolutionary show tunes in my car is fucking spiritual, because it's me connecting authentically with that part of who I am. You know, it's like meditation doesn't have to be sitting cross-legged in the lotus position. It can be, you know, meditation is literally pausing to take the time to contemplate, and you can be doing that standing doing the washing up. It's just that awareness and cultivating that awareness. And I think recovery also taught us that a failure to continue to cultivate that awareness of others, of service to others, of our place within the greater whole, is eventually what will make you so self-absorbed that you suffer.
Yeah, no, completely. And I think for me, like being a sober person and a person that, despite no longer going to AA meetings, I do feel like I am in a constant process of recovery. And I feel like in order to keep that interesting and to keep me engaged, that sort of spiritual connection needs to evolve and change. And so much has sort of changed in that time. But I think what is important is to keep growing and keep evolving in that way. I think that any kind of spiritual practice in the time that we're in that moves people into a space that makes them only think about themselves is extremely dangerous. So anything that pulls us away from the collective conscious is going to be something that is pulling people away from more revolutionary practices and standing up, making a stand, because it's a really fucking difficult time right now.
Yeah, it's very pervasive. It's something that I obviously speak about a lot as cult mother, in the fact that we all need self-care, right? But the whole point of self-care is so you have the capacity to show up in service of others. Not that, yeah. And it's all like all this talk about a regulated nervous system. If you have a regulated nervous system, you will feel like shit right now, right? Because your nervous system is your alarm system. Your nervous system is the part of you that goes, ooh, and there's a lot to do that in response to right now. So I just don't want anyone to be beating themselves up or giving themselves a hard time if they aren't able to achieve that state of calm or peace or ease. It's just not where I feel we're supposed to be right now. And I see it a lot. It's quite pervasive. People really berating themselves or giving themselves a hard time because the tools and the things that I was using aren't fucking working anymore. The faith or trust that I had, whatever relationship with whatever, I always say God, the universe, Stevie Nicks, doesn't matter what you call it, just get comfortable with it, right? Like I said, I lost that cat and it fucked me up, right? Because it's very hard to believe in a loving higher power when you are dealing firsthand with death, for example, right? Like a lot of people know my brother has recently been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. It's not something I'm really comfortable talking about at length because it's not my fight. I'm in it with him, but he's a private person, so I'm not going to talk about that all the time. But it's those sorts of things I know people listening can relate to that make you go, fuck your God. Fuck the concept of a higher power or anything good in the world. And then, of course, we have been bearing witness. And what we have been bearing witness to, the horrors and the atrocities, will of course have you questioning. But the questioning is the faith. That's what I learned. The questioning, but what does it all mean? And does anybody care? And is there any underlying, is you walking the walk? That is practicing spirituality. That is, right? The I don't know, but I guess I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to pull a tarot card, or I'm going to sit for 5 minutes of contemplation, or I'm going to go and do some Reiki, or I'm going to, is in the midst of it, again, reaching for these things that we need if we are going to keep it together enough to keep going.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think for me, that sort of wavering connection that I've struggled with, it's easier for me to come back to something that is a nature-based spirituality, because I can believe in that tree. I can believe in Dicka Marie.
She's a big fucking tree. Do you know how old Dicka Marie is as the oldest tree in Berlin?
Oh my God. Do you know what? I'm just going to quickly Google that because I think it would probably be good to say.
You're going to get somebody's dating profile now.
Oh my God, I wish.
She's 37. She loves a glass of Sauvignon Blanc, right?
She's always up for a laugh.
Yeah.
So Dicka Marie, Fat Marie, is a pedunculate oak in Berlin's Tegel forest.
She's got a pedunkadunk.
She's... Dicka Marie and her big old pedunkadunk.
Hello, darling. You're looking a little bit pedunculate.
Oh, my God. Estimated to be 800 to 900 years old.
Fucking
often
hell,
cited as the city's oldest tree.
I mean, that is old, right? And it's these things. It's like Dicka Marie the tree. I had it once when I looked at a mountain that sits over Belfast. And I remember being like, that mountain has been there for hundreds of years. It's seen all of the conflict. It was there through the Troubles. It's still there now. It will continue to be there. And it's a lovely reminder that all of these motherfuckers will die. Right?
Yeah.
That you know, there is a 900-year-old tree that has seen empires rise and fall.
I mean, in Berlin as well. Like, I mean, this is a city that has just seen so much change, and I mean, the wall and just all of it. You know.
Are you still using Finch?
Yeah, I am. I check in with Finch every day. For those that don't know, Finch is sort of it's like a Tamagotchi in your phone, and it sort of feeds off your good self-care habits. So basically, you can buy it like cute little outfits and take it on adventures and all stuff like that. But in order to do that, you have to get these rainbow stones that you can only get by, you know, a sort of self-care list of your choice. So I got up, I brushed my teeth, or I meditated, I went for a run. And I found it extremely helpful as something that just does encourage me to do those self-care things. Have you been using it?
No. So yeah, my burb is probably dead. What did you call your bird? Was Linda? Lovely Linda.
Linda. He, him pronouns. Linda.
Of course.
Yeah.
I had little Nando, and I had my lovely self-care list in Finch, and it was really helpful. It's something I've recommended a lot. I think we share Finch codes in our the cult Discord, because you can kind of create a little friendship tree and kind of check in with each other. And but I obviously realized that you could just say you'd done the things when you haven't done the things to get the rainbow coins to buy the stuff. So it wasn't really working for me in the way in which it was designed.
Right.
And so I probably do need to check in with little Nando, make sure they're alive, and maybe set up some new things to tick off the list. It's really helpful for things like remembering to take your medication, or have you drunk some water, you dehydrated frazzle of a human being, you know? So for those of us that do need a nudge to remember to eat, you know, for those of us that don't eat and then wonder why we're so angry, it is maybe really helpful. Well, look, let's talk a little bit about some of the things that our audience kind of suggested or recommended. So big shout out, of course, to everyone in our Patreon, because it's so lovely for us to be able to engage with you there. I want to give a shout out to our new paid up Patreon members. Thanks so much for contributing to the coffee pot. Obviously, we go through quite a lot. So absolutely, hell yes, Nova, Kerry, Jade, Hazel, and J.A. We see you, we appreciate you. You can absolutely sign up to our Patreon for free, though. It's just so you can access new episodes. And again, we can kind of ask you for your input as well. So talking coping strategies. Kerry C says, besides binging things that distract me, however momentarily, from the overwhelming fuckery, your podcast has been a beacon of hope for our collective humanity. Thank you, Kerry. Any creative thing as an act of defiance is where I'm leaning in. I make opinionated stoneware. The opinions. I've started a podcast with a friend of mine, same. Anything to express myself. And Kerry also said the lovely creatures. So we've already spoken about that. So I completely agree with Kerry. That idea right now of being creative for the sake of being creative. You don't have to monetize it. You don't have to have other people appreciate it. I think that kind of head, heart, hands, and just doing what we feel we might want to do. I started a deck.
Oh my God, yeah. Are you ready to talk about that?
I don't know, actually, because I feel like I've bitten off more than I can chew feels like a gross understatement right now. Everyone is obviously super excited at the idea of me doing a deck, which is absolutely amazing. I'm so grateful and appreciative. The tough thing is I've thought about it for a long time, and I always imagined I would collaborate with an artist or an illustrator because I don't feel my art skills are sort of up to scratch, but I'm also an outrageous control freak, and I've got very, very strong kind of visual and aesthetic ideas. I'm obviously tuning and tapping into years and years of like very up close and intense study of kind of tarot and symbolism, and so I think the easiest way for me to actually move this project forward or to get it going at all is for me to sketch, draw, create. But that involves me
Oh,
like
wow.
knocking the dust off of skills that I've never really used or have tried to develop since I was a child. I loved drawing. I loved painting. My dad used to buy me these big long rolls of decorators lining paper, like wallpaper, because I used to go through paper so quickly that it was like a more economical way of feeding my constant kind of drawing. And I remember I started drawing kind of comic books and things. And then that's something that, you know, we drift away from these things, and I'm coming back to that right now, and being able to do that with tarot. And the idea of a tarot deck is amazing, but I'm also aware of the fact it's the kind of thing that's probably going to take me about 15 years. So I hope nobody's waiting with bated breath.
I had no idea that you were thinking of doing it yourself. The last we spoke, we were talking about sort of different artists that you could potentially collaborate with. But I just love the idea of it being something that you physically made.
Yeah, I mean, I had DIY tattooed on my leg when I was about 17, right? So my do-it-yourself ethos, as you've experienced, everyone, with this podcast, is pretty strong, and it's the only way that I feel that I could be kind of... I just can't imagine being the person that had to work with me, right? Can you imagine me, just even when I'm coming, like, actually, I don't know whether we put Hawthorne in there. I think it might need to be this. And if it's there, I think it needs to be on the right-hand side because of the right-hand path. And then, obviously, if we've got a spiral, we have to think about the directionality of the spiral, because directionality, it's like, I just wouldn't want to be the person that had to work with me, basically, right? I just, so I'm excited about it, and being surrounded by kind of pens and pencils and sketchbooks, and again, like, the opportunity within that to move past the perfectionism, just to fucking draw something.
Have you started? Have you done some drawing yet?
I have, yeah. So I put my first image that's very rough, very initial, and I'll probably change another 42 times. I did the death card from the Major Arcana.
Oh, wow.
And my death card is called Decay. And I had fun drawing a scythe and a skull and a tree stump and little mushrooms and all sorts of things. So yeah, it's pinned on the wall here. It's got a lot of it's got Ivy in it, evergreen Ivy. You've got your niece, little baby Ivy.
Lovely.
So yeah, it's probably been something that's kind of been percolating for a little while.
I'm so excited about this.
Well, I just don't feel like I'm mentally, spiritually, physically, or emotionally in a place where I can develop a tarot deck or do very much else right now. So it might be a real overreach, but you know, again, classic Hannah, because I need to write a book as well, don't I? So
that, or it could be exactly what you need, you know, like me starting to write a book at 3 a.m. Like sometimes you just need to get it out and you need to do something. And I know that sort of people like us quite often need novelty. And I know for me, like, business is great, but the idea of just constantly sitting in a room making the same belt over and over again has been a bit tricky. You know, I have been working on some new things recently that I can't yet talk about, but I'm very excited about. And I think it is just wonderful to get to really sink your teeth into something completely new that you've not done before.
No, and I absolutely need to shout out my Patreon. I know we've got a bit of a love affair going with Patreon because it's been such a great place for us to put the podcast. But for me, like the cult Patreon, the idea of supporting creatives, it's literally this. It's me being burned out on what I was doing, people understanding, you know, what I was putting into that, seeing that, supporting that, and then that in turn is now cultivating and creating space for me to potentially develop something like a deck, and to be able to then give that back to that community, and those people have supported me. That's, if I do a deck, it's for the cult. Right? Yeah. If I write a book, it's for the cult, because I could not do it. I would not have the time, the space, the freedom without the financial support, the real tangible support that I get from that Patreon. So absolutely, like, it's such a great platform. If you're an artist or creative who's not using Patreon, I really encourage you to check it out. I'm having a bit of a love affair with it right now, because it's one of those places where I've been able to like get away from fucking Instagram and still find my people and stay connected, and you know, do the work that I want to do without feeling like I'm screaming into the void, which I think is what Instagram has become for a lot of us.
Get a brick, hug a tree, get a Patreon. How's that?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, or just like get a brick, hug a tree, throw your phone in the ocean, hug a tree, make art. Right? Like,
get a brick, throw a brick.
Yeah. Special shout out to Chelsea on our Patreon, because Chelsea said your podcast and videos are one of the best coping strategies right now. I live in a conservative community full of privileged white people who are acting like nothing is wrong, and it is making me feel crazy. I'm so grateful to have found you. Chelsea, you are not alone in that. I stood in the middle of a big Tesco the other day, just looking around, looking at everyone, just being like, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah,
It's
no,
hard.
100%. It is very, very hard to see people just sort of like going about life like the whole world isn't on fire. Because it isn't in their community, you know, they're going to be completely fine no matter what, and I think that's definitely been something that I have struggled with recently.
Yeah, I think we also have to remember that people are on the receiving end of some very prolific and pervasive propaganda right now. You know, I see it sometimes with people I know are very smart and very switched on, and they'll say something, and I'll be like, "Where the fuck did you get that from?" And I know where they got it from, and they got it from a biased news media that's been excusing genocide for the last 2.5 fucking years. You know, so I think we have to remember that as frustrating it is to be like, the fuck is wrong with you? Because you want to shake people, right? Right? It is getting very tough, but we're gonna have to be really gentle. We're gonna have to be gentle, and I know that is not easy, but those people that are starting to kind of go, oh wait, what? My fuel prices are going up. Oh, I can't afford. The people are beginning to connect the dots. They are, but we've got to make the left, us radicals apparently now, we've got to make it look like somewhere you would want to be. We've got to be people you would want to hang out with. So the louder and more shouty and divide, because I'm gonna say it, there's so much fucking bullshit and toxicity happening, especially online, amongst people that absolutely should and need to be allies right now.
Yeah, yeah, completely. Well, what I would say is, I think, just in terms of the left, I think we are starting to see some things that are positive. You know, I mean, right now, I mean, Zach Polanski, and his win with the by-election. I
Yeah,
mean,
the Green
I'm
Party in the
the Green
UK.
Party. And I mean, just the way that he is speaking on certain things. I mean, I struggle to trust any politician ever, but I do like him. You know, it's a similar feeling of what we started to get with Zoran, where it's like, oh wow, okay, you are actually somebody that will show up for trans people. You are somebody that will speak on Palestine. And I think I have found that little win to be quite inspiring. And I think, you know, as you know, I watch a lot of people on the left speak on YouTube, and there has been a little bit of a turn of the tide in the way that they're speaking about things. I think just a month ago, people were really had it in their heads that it was going to be reform, that we were getting a reform government in the UK. And I think now, as you know, obviously that would be going outside of the two-party system. I think people are starting to realize we can go outside of the two-party system, and it doesn't have to be a horrendous far-right party.
We have to, if we're going to have anything resembling democracy, and whether we will really remains to be seen. I saw something this morning that I actually found really affirming. And it was someone speaking, I think on Channel 4, and essentially saying the reason a lot of us are struggling at the moment is because for the first time in history, we are mourning the future. People are becoming aware of the fact that authoritarianism is on the increase. They are eroding democracy absolutely everywhere that they can, and they're doing it slowly, insidiously, and it's happening all across Europe. So that idea of fear, because we are actively watching institutions that we've trusted, that we thought kept us safe, because it's what we were taught, it's what we were told, it's what our parents believed. The idea that we are actually now grieving for a future that we know does not exist. I really, really relate to that idea of grief, and the source of grief not only being for my past, not only being for where we are in the present, because there's a lot to fucking grieve, but also for a future that now is unwritten. But I really like to lean into being more excited by the fact that we get to then be the architects of that. We will write it, we will design it, but obviously we're going to have to step up and do that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the idea that somebody in the Green Party could be in the running in that kind of way. You know, you grew up knowing it was going to be Labour or it was going to be Tory. It was always going to be one of the two.
Classic left or right, yeah.
Yeah, the idea that we might be stepping away from that
Yeah, well, it's difficult though because Labour and Conservatives, that's your Republicans, your Democrats, you're right. That the equivalent. That whole idea of are we moving away from left and right? We're not. We're moving into more radical extremes because Reform are a radically right-wing party. They are fascists, let's face it. And Keir Starmer has already come out and called the Greens the radical left, claiming that Labour are the only people somewhere in the centre that can now accommodate all the people that don't really feel drawn to one or the other. So it's still polarizing. It is still two-party.
Yeah, completely. But I mean, it's interesting because I mean, the Labour Party we have right now has actually sort of got nothing to do with Labour. You know, like
Yeah.
it's actually nowhere near to the left, actually, and he is just such a spineless little shit as well.
Keir Starmer, let it be known, we do believe him to be not only spineless but bought and sold at this point. That man is
Oh
not
yeah,
okay. That man is dead behind the eyes. That I don't know what they've got on him, but he is afraid. He is afraid. What a prick. Anyway, on that note, from Haunt Punk, our wonderful Haunt Punk,
lovely Haunt Punk.
someone I'm just so blessed to know. Gotta admit, the only thing that helps me anymore is identifying something that troubles me, and then becoming a bigger problem for it than it is for me. I just keep staying active in the process of giving hell to whatever is within my reach that deserves my wrath. It's gotten to the point, though, that sometimes I have to go out looking for good trouble to soothe my soul. Turns out, though, it's a pretty decent way to live.
Oh my god, I love that.
And I loved other people being able to jump on that comment and be like, yes, like, so inspiring. And that is
Yeah.
inspiring. That idea of, yeah, okay, it's a problem. I'm going to be a bigger problem. That's something that I very much relate to at the moment. Very much relate to.
Absolutely. No, I completely love that from Haunt Punk.
Have you seen the footage of the arrests that were made in Berlin on International Women's Day?
I haven't actually. No.
It's well, that's good because you've got a brick between Pan and Venus, right? Typically, we have dealt with an awful lot of very nasty footage of, again, police brutality, but it's Germany, get it to fucking together, right? It's been a real bad look for you for a real long time now. You had a chance finally to do
redeem yourself,
approaching redemption, and you have shit the bed. But having bully boy fucking the bull and the spinner, like, I'm getting back, right? Having fucking cops manhandling people on International Women's Day who are protesting, right? Are being protesting feminists, and you are trying to break their fucking arm. You're surrounding them en masse and shoving them up against a wall, and I literally, there is a protester in Berlin. I recognized them in the footage, literally standing there while they're being arrested, being like, shouting, "You lot are a fucking disgrace. You are so embarrassing. I don't know how you sleep at night." And I've been arrested by those cops, and they are fucking terrifying. They are armed, they are organized, and they will come at you in a formation of 12 and drop you on your face faster than you can fucking blink. And I know because it happened to me. And I just want to say, fucking get it, gals, for everyone that was out on the street on International Women's Day, reminding us what the fuck International Women's Day is supposed to be about. Because if someone had tried to give me a bunch of fucking flowers on International Women's Day, I would have made them eat them.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, police in Berlin. I mean, having been at sort of Palestine protests and seen the way that they arrest people, it is just absolutely horrendous. And, they really do bring in their worst from sort of Nordrhein-Westfalen. These aren't Berlin cops. They bring them from outside, and they are just, you can see it in their eyes, just absolute wife beaters.
Yeah, they just relish an opportunity to beat up marginalized people, right? They love chasing down. I was just watching some of these arrests and the use of force and the use of intimidation, and get it together, Germany. I'm so fucking disappointed.
Horrendous. Yeah.
I didn't know whether I could be any more disappointed, but I'm just like, could you not just leave the International Women's Day protest alone? But I think it's because there was a very, very strong pro-Palestinian faction that went out specifically on March 8th for Palestine. And of course that's not okay, God forbid.
Yeah. Well, I think they cut the cultural budget by 10 million, right? And then they spent 1.5 million on a propaganda exhibition for Israel about October the 7th. So, I mean, it is just absolutely baked in at this point.
I think about so often when you and I went to the Nan Goldin exhibition, because
Oh, God, yeah.
Nan Goldin did use the exhibition in Berlin as an opportunity to speak about Palestine and how much Germany is shit in the bed and how it's not okay. Yes, Nan, of course. But you and I went to see that exhibition, which was made up of several different pieces of Nan Goldin's work. Oh, and they were retrospectives, I guess. But I can't get over that film, Barbara. The triptych, the martyrs, the mystics. It was a triptych. It's the film, right? But it's shown on three screens. But it's a film that Nan Goldin made about her sister. I'm gonna get upset. She made about her sister who was institutionalized from a very young age because she would not conform. She would date who she wanted. She would not do what she was told. And this is in the 50s or 60s, right? So, and she was institutionalized to the point that she eventually escaped and she died because she killed herself, throwing herself in front of a train. And Nan Goldin made one. I lost my shit and you had to hold me in the exhibition hall, right? Because I've looked for it. I've tried to find it, and you can't just watch it online. You can't just like see it, which I think is such a shame because I want everyone to see it because it is just the story of how we need to remember these pioneers, these people. Like we are not living that far away from a time that people like us would have been lobotomized.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. That exhibition was phenomenal, wasn't it? I mean, it was set up in this way where there were these sort of tents that had like projections of her photography, and there was also, as you say, this film. And there was one tent that just sort of showed all these queer and trans people from sort of the 70s and the 80s, a lot of which we sort of lost to AIDS. And it was just so moving. The music she chose, like the lighting, everything, it was just absolutely phenomenal. And as you said, she sort of gave a speech at the beginning about Palestine as a Jewish woman as well. And it was just absolutely phenomenal.
Someone who again, right, we're making art about addiction, we're making art about the friends that we know in our communities who are amazing, and we're soothing ourselves and we're telling our stories, but we're also, I watched a film someone made about their sister that will stay in my chest and stay in my heart forever. And so yeah, again, just to all the creatives, the artists out there, don't underestimate if you can make your art for you, and it can have a ripple effect that maybe you'll never truly be able to comprehend. But yeah, here's to all the fucking angry women. Happy International Women's Decade.
Yes.
The he hims are fucking done. We are furious. I don't want flowers. I want a machete, right?
Yes. Big time.
Quick shout out to N. Just left a note saying that they've had a hard, low week. Same. Feeling that humanity is failing us, absolutely. But for me, it's been really important to stay grounded, discovering breath work, something that you and I have both done a lot of, to try and stay anchored, and signing up for flute classes. Also a kind of breath work, I guess. I love it, right? That's exactly what I'm talking about.
That is absolutely gorgeous. And I have to say, like, breathwork has been a big one for me. I mean, as a person that is, as I mentioned, sober, breathwork was crazy when I discovered it because I realized you actually kind of get high. And I've been on these sort of journeys where I will bring like my weirdo music with me, and I will get into these spaces. And that was absolutely huge for me as a person in recovery that never thought I could access those spaces again in a safe way. So I love breath work.
Yeah, I remember the first time I did a breathwork session with you that you'd recommended, and I was not prepared for how trippy it was at all. Yeah. I kind of like came out of it like I'd been on drugs. It was just my own breath. So different kinds of breath work. For anyone that doesn't want to do breath work because it's going to make you feel high, you can do breath work that's way more gentle than the huffing and puffing that we were doing in that session. I think Elle Bauer Johnson, shout out, does breath work sessions for the cult, and that's just lovely.
I have done the last couple of L's sessions, and they're wonderful because I feel like you can do a session that is very, very sort of high energy, where you get that sort of high, and I think L's are way more rest focused, and it is very, very, very gentle, and I find them to be just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, same. And talking collaborating with other witches. Kaz says, myself and a good friend, we're healers, and we're building collaborations with witches, other healers, to build something to help us and others feel safe as much as we can right now. So running circles, energy sharing, sending out healing into the world. We are very much not love and light. The darkness is very real. So a lot of what they're doing is around this idea of, staying sane. Having a network, even a small one, is so important. Absolutely.
It absolutely
right?
is. It absolutely is.
We've talked about this quite a lot. Creative collaboration is going to be so important for all of us, right? We're not doing competition. It's there's a seat at the table for everyone, and I think we're going to all be stronger and more resilient the more willing we are to work together.
Yeah, big time.
Right, one last one, but get your tissues ready, right?
Oh God, here we go.
I just want to send a lot of love to Anna Marie, because Anna Marie really missed us last week, which is nice, right? Thanks for missing us. Anna Marie said, love that you're going to talk about coping strategies, things that I've been doing, listening to music while drawing and colouring in a sketchbook, talking to friends and not saying I'm fine when they ask how I'm doing. I'm telling the truth now. Same.
Yes.
Watching comfort, nostalgic movies, TV shows. I started a DVD collection. I totally understand. Trying to be there and help others however I can, even if it's just listening, offering support or making them laugh. But Anna Marie then said, I lost my ex-husband in January.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And don't have any family, so I'm a proper single mum to my teenager now. And it's been a good but overwhelming transition on top of the grief and dealing with world events in the US while existing as a woman of colour. So this is a perfect time for more coping tips. But Anna Marie, for you to be thinking about trying to be there to help others however you can, even if it's just listening, offering support or making them laugh, while you are right in the middle of dealing with all of that, that is the energy.
Yeah. Superhero, my God.
Right?
Yeah.
That let that be a lesson to us all today, I think, right? No matter where we are or what we're dealing with, we can always turn our attention to how it is that we might help others however we can. And I know how hard it is to actually do that when you're face down in the duvet. I do. But paradoxically, it's the thing that might help you most.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, facing grief in these times, I mean, just, before you've looked past what's going on the news, I can't even imagine. So, I mean, sending so much love to you, Anna Marie.
Yeah, and everyone else on our Patreon, thank you again so much for your
Yes.
support. We are also now on YouTube.
Yes.
We have a YouTube channel, so if you're someone who likes to listen to podcasts in YouTube, you can find us there. We'll make sure that you have the link. There should be a little button when we publish on Patreon that says listen in app, and you can select where it is that you are listening. We do want to stay independent. We do want to stay ad-free, so we do appreciate clicks, likes, subscribes, getting signed up, chucking us a cup of coffee if you can. We are absolutely going to move to doing video.
I can't wait for that.
And putting video on YouTube. But the problem is, though, we're on episode 5 and we're still having problems. We're getting the audio. We've been trying to use different cameras and trying to get some video going, even just to kind of kick some awareness on Instagram. And the struggle is real. Tommy and I both run other businesses. Kev's absolutely, doing his best with all of the editing and the producing and trying to keep us
so grateful
track.
For Kev.
Thanks, Kev. I'm so grateful for Kev. Kev's keeping me alive, right? My husband has the hardest job in the world, and that's keeping my shit together. But yeah, just to say, obviously, if you want to have a look at YouTube, there isn't video yet. There will be when we continue to get our shit together. I think we'll have to try and scrape together a few more quid to sort our cameras and stuff out, and then we'll be able to do that.
Very, very, very exciting though, because I mean, for me, I will listen to a podcast at work, But then when I'm at home and I'm in the bath, I will watch YouTube podcasts. So I think it is really good to have both eventually.
Yeah, and obviously I think, as we move towards season 2, we want to invite guests. We're really trying to wait for the right time to invite the right people to help us to continue certain conversations. And when we do that, we'd absolutely love to have the video and for you to be able to kind of watch that as well. So
Yeah, I mean, we've got sort of quite a few ideas about the kind of people that we'd want to have on. But if there is anyone that people would like to draw our attention to, you can also absolutely let us know.
amazing. I did recommend Matt Bernstein's Patreon from our Patreon, because you've mentioned Matt Bernstein in every episode, so I just wanted to keep that streak. And if that, because it's someone that we have mentioned, you can find a link to their Patreon and find them and have a look at what they're about via ours now. So however you are coping, we hope that you're coping. If you're not, please reach out. Please ask for help or support. If it is not forthcoming, then fucking let us know, right?
Come on the pod.
Because a lot of how we're feeling is as a response of people who are deliberately trying to manufacture that kind of despair in those of us that might be best positioned to push back. So if you're someone who is thinking of just pushing the fuck it button, don't let the bastards win. We need you. We love you. We see you. I think it's really important. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to say it. I'm someone who struggles with suicidal ideation. Right? Hot topic. If you didn't need to come here or go here, you can stop listening right now. But I have had that explained to me in a way that I found very helpful, because I couldn't understand why, as a human who surely is just driven to survive, I would start contemplating taking myself out, right? And I've had it explained to me as a malfunction of our fight or flight. So when you are fight, but you feel like you aren't fucking getting anywhere, the flight mechanism kind of goes, my turn. But the only flight we can find in the world that we're living in today is that whole idea of, well, I'm just fucking done. I'm going to drive my car into the ocean and then I won't have to answer these emails, right? So it's lying to you.
Yeah, but I mean, Hannah, just given sort of the past year for you, like, I think it's sort of quite understandable, really, isn't it? And I mean, I think it's just testament to your strength and all of the work that you have done over the past few years. That you are still here and strong and showing up in the ways that you do. I'm so proud of you.
Oh, babes. Thank you. But yeah, I just think it's still something that is quite stigmatized. It is something that's difficult to talk about. It makes you feel like there must be something so very wrong with you, that you must be malfunctioning at this like inherent kind of integral biological level. And it's just that shit's fucked. Right? Shit is fucked. It's not you, sweetheart. I promise. So if you're anyone like me who likes to like kind of daydream sometimes about reaching for the bottle with the skull and crossbones on it, that just remember that the more you love on yourself, the more you can try and take care of yourself. Again, the more you can try and take care of others right now, the more you are, as Hawk Punk said, being a bigger problem than the problem.
Yes.
And I just don't want to see any more people slip through the fucking cracks of this devastating, disgusting, brutal system.
Yeah, I hear that.
Well, thank you for listening to what was round 2 of coping strategies for us. We hope that we've been able to keep you company wherever you are and whatever it is that you're doing. Again, we really appreciate your support. I think I've mentioned Patreon and YouTube and enough today. What are you up to for the rest of today, Tommy V?
Ugh, I've got a bloody SEO, my website, all sorts of boring stuff, to be honest. But I am going to make time to go for a run, and I want to read my book in the park.
Okay, love that. What can I do for self-care today? I think self-care today actually looks like me taking care of some of the things that I know are building up and are on the to-do list. I have a real problem with avoidance at the moment, but the more I kind of tiptoe towards it and just do a little bit of it, the less overwhelming it feels. So I'll probably try and tackle a little bit of that inbox.
Sometimes self-care is just doing the thing and getting it out of the way and stop living in it. Because I can have a tendency to procrastinate, but I'm not enjoying myself during that procrastination. I'm living in the thing I'm not doing, and that is no fun.
Well, you're talking to someone that currently has 1,200 unread emails, so I hear
Oh,
you.
same.
Horrendous. That's it from us, and we'll see you next time. That'll be episode 6. Take care out there. Bye.
Bye.